Not at this point, but we'd certainly always be open to doing that.
Trustee Pinello?
Thank you, Chair, through you. First and foremost, thank you so very much for this presentation. I was definitely very excited as an avid little gardener myself. I think it's really wonderful, not just because obviously it's an incredibly worthwhile skill to develop, and not many people have family who have green thumbs or the knowledge. But it's great community building, and there's definitely a sense of pride when communities, children, and youth can look after one another and have that feeling of looking after one another. I think my only question, and the SHISM question was phenomenal, I was going to ask, is there any barrier that you folks have identified that might be keeping people from taking part in this? It could be scaling, it could be access, it could just be getting the message out. And then to the point of SHISM, I'm wondering, has there been conversations with some of our local post-secondary institutions and how they can help also pour into, and maybe if there are students who are interested in doing this, you know, post-secondary, leading them into programs beyond high school? Thank you.
So we do work at secondary schools. We reach out and we kind of tweak it a little bit that it's more geared to them for post-secondary school. My apologies. At this point, we're kind of open to all avenues, that we're not saying no to any group or any kind. We're still in the beginning stages of doing it with the board office and all the other committees. So we're open to anybody's feedback.
We have also spoken to like Durham College and the Center for Food, having them become involved in some of the mentor program that we're putting together for the summer program. So we have been in conversations with the post-secondary schools.
Just before we wrap up, I just want to say that they are looking for volunteers, and they're happy to take trustees at any of these garden installations. So I did send that out to all trustees. Trustee Brown?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, that was actually my question. I was going to ask, like, how are you engaging more volunteers? And by the way, this program makes my heart sing. I am so happy. I feel really, really happy to be, you know, part of this initiative. It's going to be great, but you need volunteers. So is this the time, as this is a public meeting, that of how they can contact you if parents, volunteers would like to get involved? How does that work?
The beautiful thing about volunteering with We Grow Food is that it's virtually for all ages. So we do have families that come out as a unit, so that's wonderful. We do promote our volunteer opportunities throughout Durham Region, through Durham Volunteer, through all different school groups and community organizations. We do have quite a flood of interest. Everybody loves to be outdoors and participating. Some people are coming because they have something they want to share. They have knowledge that they want to share. And others are coming because they want to learn. So there's this really beautiful mix.
And also we have all the social media groups of all ages that we know that offer the We Grow Food volunteer page. Our phone numbers all over basically the internet, that anybody can call us. And even if we can't help them, we guide them in the right direction of who they can reach out to for other things. But we're always open for volunteers, and I think I have shirts for all of you with your size as a name on it. Just saying.
Trustee Morton?
This is not a question, this is a comment, and I'm looking at your shirts, your T-shirts.
Yes.
They're hard to see, but they are very appropriate with the green on black. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Trustee Miller?
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wanted to say I was very pleased with this presentation, and I couldn't leave without making a comment. And I also wanted to note that it is also great to have this interconnection with well-being, because you know, connecting to nature is one of those things that is helpful to well-being. So this is awesome to see in our school board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
And now we're on to the director's update, and I'll turn it over to Director of Education, Camille Williams-Taylor.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Good evening and welcome to everyone. With the arrival of spring, DDSB staff has been busy planning for summer learning, and I'm pleased to share that the 2024 summer school course information is now available at dce.ca. That's Durham Continuing Education. Durham Continuing Education offers a variety of credit and non-credit programs for students in grades 6 to 12, both in person and online. Last Thursday, here at the Education Center, we recognized International Transgender Day of Visibility with a flag-raising event. The flag raising is one small part of the important work we must continue to do to dismantle all forms of oppression. It serves as a reminder to the Durham District School Board community to show support and stand in solidarity with Two-Spirit and transgender, including gender non-binary, gender non-conforming, and gender diverse people. It is also an important opportunity to reflect on visibility rights and allyship as it relates to transgender communities. Later this week, on April 4th, 147 teams of DDSB students will compete at the Regional Skills Ontario competition taking place at Oshawa's Tribute Centre. Teams will be showcasing their critical and creative thinking, collaboration, technology, and digital literacy, along with problem-solving skills in 13 categories, including construction, green energy, tech design, animation, and robotics. We wish all students participating the very best of luck as they compete to represent the DDSB in the Provincial Skills Ontario event taking place later this month. Thank you. And this concludes my update for the evening.
Are there any questions for Director Williams-Taylor? Seeing none. Moving on to information items, and starting with item A, student trustee report. Who is planning on giving the report? Okay. Student trustee Kasoju.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. To begin, we recently had the opportunity to sit down with the director discussing a new student trustee policy, our connections with Asta Eco, and the initiatives that we're working on, including a database for student opportunities and a guide to high school.
Thank you. This past month, we also held a meeting with our incoming student trustees where we were able to acquaint them with their role and provide insight into what being a student trustee means. This ensures that our incomings are well prepared as they begin their journey in their new positions starting this September. In the future, they will also be attending our public meetings, which will enable them to witness firsthand how our board meetings operate. Please welcome them.
Since our last standing committee meeting, I had the opportunity to visit 3 more of our high schools. Kayla and I started the month off doing a tour of Uxbridge Secondary School and Brock High School in the north. And we also got an opportunity to see the ongoing construction at the Beaver River Public Schools site. It was a great day that let us gain a greater insight into what learning in the north looks like. I was also able to tour Pine Ridge with members of their student council. In the next few months, we'll be wrapping up the rest of our school visits. That's it for us, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the student trustee report? Trustee Morton?
Not a question, but a comment. Thank you for traveling to our most northern schools. That would have taken you approximately an hour. Thank you for doing that.
Moving on to the next item, DDSB Student Achievement Plan. I have a whole long list of people under this title, so if anyone wants to put up a... Okay.
Good evening, and through you, Chair. Tonight's report can be found on pages 1 to 7 of your package. On July 28, 2023, the Ministry of Education announced regulatory and policy updates to support the Better Schools and Students Outcome Act, including new regulation that sets provincial priorities for student achievement in 3 areas. One being achieving learning outcomes in core academic skills, the second being preparing students for future success, and the third being enhancing student engagement and well-being. To align with these priorities, the ministry introduced the Student Achievement Plan framework, designed to assist school boards in establishing specific goals and performance indicators for evaluating and enhancing student outcomes. On January 31st, 2024, the ministry provided this Student Achievement Plan template to all school boards, requiring its completion within the provided template and publication on the board's website by the end of day, April 2nd, 2024. This plan is included in your package as Appendix A. You'll notice that on the first page of the Student Achievement Plan, this presents the board and provincial results for each of the performance indicators shared above. This information, the data within this page, has been pre-populated by the Ministry of Education. The second page consolidates the same data, and we have been asked to complete the actions our school board will take to improve, which is column 7. Within this section, this highlights key strategies that align with current district plans, which have previously been communicated to trustees. These include, but are not limited to, the math plan, mental health and well-being plans, inclusive student service plans, and the Compendium of Action for Black Student Success 2.0. These established plans are in various stages of implementation within our system and have been designed based on the data you see within the plan, additional qualitative and quantitative data collected by the district, and our deep knowledge of the students and families we serve. To ensure our strategic direction remains clear and focused, we've woven key actions from the existing plan into the DDSB Student Achievement Plan. This deliberate integration guarantees that our actions are not only synchronized and cohesive, but also tailored to meet the unique needs and learning strengths of our students. These strategies will be updated on an annual basis through the ongoing collection of qualitative and quantitative student achievement data, engagement data, and well-being data. Links to all the district plans have been provided on the second page at the bottom right-hand corner for families and community to access. Following this evening's meeting, the DDSB Student Achievement Plan will be uploaded to the DDSB website, fulfilling the ministry's requirement to post by the end of the day on April 2nd. We are sharing this report tonight with you for information, and the team is happy to take any questions you might have.
Do I have any questions? Trustee Morton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'm looking on page 3, and it talks about the 3-year DDSB mental health and well-being plan, and it also talks about the 1-year mental health and well-being plan. I'm curious to know how these plans are developed and who is involved, because I'm remembering back when we had a mental health advisory committee, and our last meeting was on Thursday, March the 12th, 2020, the day before the pandemic was announced. So I'm really curious to know more about the mental health plans.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So the question is really appreciated. We have a team from the district actually presenting this Friday at a regional conference on how well-being and mental health is a shared responsibility across our portfolios and is embedded in the work that we do supporting well-being and learning. So the answer to your question is simple and complex all at the same time, because it does not reside with a single team member or a single team, but with the entirety of all of the departments and staff and schools working together. So your reference point to both the 1-year plan within our 3-year plan is timely. So with the launch of the multi-year strategic plan, anchoring well-being as one of the 3 pillars, We're actually going into the consultation phase and development phase of the next 3-year plan over the course of the next 12 months. So trustees will see that aligned with the multi-year strategic plan, the focus, the principles, as well as the guidance. We use data right from our students. So most recently, as of Thursday, our School Mental Health Ontario board data scan was due. And that looks at actions taken as a district. It looks at service priorities, again, voiced in the access points of our various students across the system, broken down by elementary and secondary, looking at different service parameters, psychological services, social work, and our teams that are right alongside in classrooms, such as the children and youth support workers. So we really take a lot directly from our students. It's an area we need to improve in, always growing. We sit at a number of community tables, so we get that Tier 3, Tier 4 interaction with the community, as mental health and well-being is not only a Durham District School Board commitment, but how we sit and anchor within our community partnerships, wrapping that 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week support for families within the region as well. Growing in our identity firming practices, both in terms of our strategies and the partnerships that we engage. So it's multi-tier. So is there a single committee that does that work? No, because it is embedded across all of the work we do. Leading that team, obviously our mental health leader, as well as our 2 senior managers for clinical services that lead that work, psychological services and social work, and an immense partnership with Positive School Climate and anti-oppression. And so what trustees will see over the next few months as we go through those consultation phases is how those 3 teams are working together to bring mental health and well-being alongside our teaching and learning partners into how our students experience school, and with positives, with people in culture, how our staff experience the workplace.
Trustee Morton, do you have a supplemental or is that a separate question? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation, but I really wanted to hear, and I'm glad you mentioned it, that we are still involving the community in developing these plans, because I think those community connections are extremely important. Thank you.
Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Continuing on from what Trustee Morton said, we do have that data point of improving student well-being, which is mentioned as being forthcoming on the data, as well as the number of students who believe their learning has prepared them for the next step in their learning experience. I was just wondering when we're going to be likely to see those reports. Overall, I'm happy to see we're at or above provincial average. I'm hoping we're going to continue there. When do you think we're likely to get those numbers?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Chair. The data on both that first page and the consolidated page is data that has been collected by the ministry, so we are just awaiting the tools to support from the ministry to gather that data.
And they haven't given you a date, even if it's...
Not as of yet.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you. Moving on to the 2023-2024 interim financial report, operating expenditures, and I'll call on Associate Director David Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Jennifer Machin, Senior Finance Manager, who's joining us this evening to present the report.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide the Board of Trustees with information related to the operating expenditures for the period ending February 29th, 2024, or Q2. Operating expenditures for the period are 48.4% of the revised estimates amount. Overall, expenses are in line with prior year, with some timing differences impacting individual lines in the attached schedule. 3 areas show a significant variance to the budget: the continuing education line, staff development, and computers. The continuing education variance is due to the timing of summer school expenses, and the computers and staff development variances relate to the timing of discretionary spending. This report is provided to trustees for information, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you. Oh, no, sorry, there's a question. Trustee Edwards?
Thank you, and I appreciate you mentioning the computers. When I saw it at 17%, I was curious as whether it was a purchase and demand supply issue at this point in time, because we've run into that in the past. So it's strictly just timing, just as what you had said then. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, moving on to item D, which is the Audit Committee meeting summary, and back to Associate Director David Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A copy of the minute summary is included in your package starting on page 12. The exciting business of the evening was the welcome and introduction of new external audit committee member Jawad Aslam, who will be joining for his term. I think that's all I'd like to highlight from the minutes, but happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thanks.
Any questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you. Moving on to number 9, which is the memo, which is the overview of Education Perfect for trustee information at pages 14 to 17. And then item 10, correspondence, is a letter to the Minister of Education from the Chair of the Board seeking a change in the education development charge legislation. And that brings us to the end of the agenda. Before we adjourn, I'd just like to remind people that the Violence in Schools Ad Hoc Committee meeting will start at 7:45, and following that, there's a special board meeting at 8:15, or whenever the Ad Hoc Committee meeting ends. This meeting's adjourned. Welcome to the Violence in Schools Ad Hoc Committee meeting of Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. This meeting will now come to order. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewa of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations at this time? Seeing none, there are no declarations at this time. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Thatcher? Okay. And I have the, can I have a motion to approve the draft, to accept the draft minutes of the November 6, 2023 Violence in Schools Ad Hoc Committee meeting? Trustee Morton? Thank you. Can I, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Moving on to information items, I have a report from the Violence in Schools Working Group, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Heather Mundy.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I have with me this evening Lisa Coppins, Senior Manager of People and Culture, who also supports that committee to assist in presenting this report. The working group report can be found on page 3 of your agenda. The working group has met 4 times since December. We note at the beginning the 3 policies: Indigenous education policy, human rights, anti-discrimination and anti-racism policy, and the safe and respectful workplace and harassment prevention policy together provide direction, outline responsibilities, and set expectations to uphold the distinct rights of Indigenous peoples and human rights for staff and students, foster and maintain safe, inclusive, and respectful learning and working environments for students and staff. So with these in mind, it helped us focus our work through the working group. The working group spent the first couple of meetings creating common understanding of the issues and reviewing relevant ministry and board resources, which are shared on page 2 of the report.
Working with Chris Conley, the Manager of Research and Strategic Analytics, the working group established a purpose and 5 topics of focus. For the purpose, we established violence prevention to create a safe, welcoming, and inclusive school environment. The 5 topics: bias-aware progressive discipline, communication, both internal and external, professional learning and knowledge, school community factors, and resources. So using these areas of focus, we then created a list, albeit not an exhaustive list, of what we already know, and then we brainstormed what additional information we wanted to know and who might have that information. And you'll see those different areas outlined in the charts on pages 4 through 10 of the report.
Thank you. And as a result of that, we've conferred with the director about the foregoing, and the working group suggested to the director that options might be considered to gather information as noted in the chart under what do we need more information on and what is missing. We noted, based on the timing of the release of the Equitable Framework for Progressive Discipline, suggested to the director that a communication plan might be developed to share this valuable resource, and noted that the Ministry of Education has announced a review of the Provincial Code of Conduct, and information could be provided to the working group as available. And so thank you. That is our report.
Any questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the agenda. The meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, and welcome to the Durham District School Board Special Board Meeting of Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations of interest? There are no declarations of interest at this time. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as distributed? Trustee Cunningham, Trustee Edwards, all in favor? That carries. Item 5 on your agenda under recommended actions. I'm going to call on Vice Chair Deb Oldfield for the adoption of the resolutions from April 2nd, 2024.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I move that the Board adopt the resolutions of the April 2nd, 2024 Committee of the Whole closed session meeting.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Trustee Brown? Is there any discussion? And I'm seeing none. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 5B on your agenda. At the March 27, 2024 special board meeting, the Board of Trustees accepted the resignation of Trustee Linda Stone. Staff have provided a report that is included in your agenda package as to the relevant terms of the Education Act and of our consolidated bylaws. In accordance with Section 6 of our consolidated bylaws, a vacancy committee must be struck to address the vacancy. Every member of the board is eligible to sit on the committee. And now I'm going to ask Councillor Cotter to provide an overview of the roles and responsibilities of the committee.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Thatcher. So, in accordance with the Education Act and the board's bylaws, there are really 3 options to fill this vacancy. The first option is to require the municipality hold a by-election to fill the seat. The second option is to appoint one of the unsuccessful trustee candidates from the last municipal election in Oshawa. And the third option would be for the board to consider a broader range of potential trustees through an application process. So those are the 3 options. Under the board's bylaws, it's the vacancy committee itself that will consider and determine which method is used, and there's no requirement for the committee to come back to board for approval of that decision in terms of which route to go. Ultimately, the appointment is for the board, but in terms of which avenue will be chosen, that's for the discretion of the vacancy committee. And so once the committee is established, the meeting date will be set, and the director will come forward with a report outlining those 3 options and providing some more specifics in terms of A, the cost of a municipal election, B, the roster of unsuccessful candidates from Oshawa, so you're aware of who those individuals will be, and the process for the application. And there'll be timelines and associated details with respect to each of those options for the committee to consider. So I think, subject to any questions you may have, and through you, Madam Chair, that's essentially the work of the committee. It is a committee of the board, so the meetings, like all committee meetings, will be public and will be subject to quorum. So I think the resolution that the board would be looking to pass tonight would be to establish the committee, and then the chair will will canvass membership on the committee, and that should be confirmed tonight as well, subject to anybody who's absent, but I think everybody's here, so it should be fine.
Trustee Oldfield.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I don't see any timelines around when the committee has to meet. Is there, am I missing that in the bylaws, or is that just presumed as soon as possible?
Determining the timeline is one of the responsibilities of the vacancy committee.
No, but the committee itself. Like, there's no timeline for us to meet as that committee and to have a decision by a particular time.
I think in your package there are some dates there.
So through you, Chair, if I might, the appointment must be confirmed by the board within 90 days.
Within 90 days. Okay,
Sorry,
thank
the
you.
seat must be filled within 90 days.
Okay, so
The vacancy occurred March 27th, and it must be filled no later than June 25th.
So, I mean, really, we've done this before, and we found that it's important to have that first meeting, you know, within a week or two. It needs to get rolling quickly to allow enough of a window.
Trustee Pinello?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just wanted to move the motion to establish a vacancy committee as per page 2 in our package under section 6 for the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a seconder for that motion. Trustee Cunningham? Trustee Edwards?
Thank you, and I was going to move that because, in my opinion, and have been sitting around this board before having to do this, the cost for the municipality was, they said hundreds, and I think it was somewhere around 150,000 we were quoted the last time. From the municipality to fill that if they ran an election. So that's definitely out, and because it has been 2 years, almost 2 years' time, I agree that this committee should be formed, and when we come look at the process, we'll look at the process. So I'm in favor of this motion. Thank you.
And Chair Thatcher, if I might, just to resolve any ambiguity, the vacancy committee can still select, if it wishes, to conduct a by-election, and the costs associated with that will come forward to the committee. And Trustee Edwards, of course, has a valid point, but just I would suggest that that be saved for the vacancy committee, and once that report comes forward.
I will now ask all trustees interested in being on the vacancy committee to raise their hand. And I'm going to ask Jillian, the recording secretary, to note. Oh, we didn't. I'm just getting ahead of myself a little bit. Okay, we have a motion that is moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. So I'm going to ask trustees interested in being on the vacancy committee to raise their hand, and Jillian, the recording secretary, will note all raised hands and we will confirm. I just wanted to mention that we are looking at April 9th and 10th for our first meeting. Just a note here for you. Is that a question, Trustee Oldfield? No? Okay. Good. We're looking for that. Okay. Raise your hand or raise your green check mark if you're interested in being on the vacancy committee. And please just hold those up so that Jillian has an opportunity to take down the names.
Chair Thatcher, just looking around, I think that is all trustees, student trustees. I'm not sure.
Well, they can attend.
They can attend.
They can attend.
Well, I don't think it's necessary for Jillian to read back the names, and I think everyone is present. So we have all trustees who will be part of that vacancy committee, and we will We will confirm the date of that first meeting for you. I'll confirm that via email. Trustee Miller, do you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know if that would be potentially in the daytime to meet or in the evening.
That's a good question. I think we'll need to consider that. I think some of the interviews may take place during the day, so that's something to consider, but we'll try and arrange these meetings early evening was a consideration. Is there anything further? Oh, well, then this meeting is adjourned. Good evening, everyone.